I honestly don't know what's looking worse after this winter. Is it my hair or is it my bank balance because of this haul? Woof woof! Hey guys, it's me Marcus, aka the Mad Dog, and we're back with another video. The first book that I picked up after my last haul should come as a surprise to nobody because it's Power Rangers Necessary Evil Part 1. Even if I wasn't reading comics, I still think I'd be picking up this book because I am an absolutely massive Power Rangers fan. I grew up on the TV show, I pretended that I still didn't watch it whilst I was in high school, and even on this channel I've talked about Power Rangers just so that I can get more people invested in this series. I bought this from Forbidden Planet and no, I haven't won the lottery, but I was buying a few other things at the time. This is a title that I always make sure that I pre-order. It is one of my favourite that's ongoing at the minute, and I'm just glad that we've already got a release date and a cover for part 2. The first omnibus that I got delivered is one that I'm really glad got a reprint because I kept passing on it in past years because of the fact that I had the complete collections, but that is the Alias Omnibus, and yes, I still love this even if they've renamed it Jessica Jones Alias, but I absolutely love this run, and when I got it delivered in, I decided to rewatch season 1 of the Netflix show, and that's something that I do want to do a retrospective of as well. I want to do an autopsy of all those series, but this is the original, and this was one of the first Brian Michael Bendis titles that I picked up, and I've always held this in high regard, and I feel like it's going to be one of those titles that will get better the older that I get. I even included it in my Where to Start Marvel Comics because I know just how powerful of a series this is. After that was an omnibus that I passed up on a few times before, but then I saw it and I realised that I do actually want to get invested in this series, and that is 100 Bullets Volume 1. I was waiting for Volume 2 to be announced, and that has now happened, and hopefully DC won't do a DC, but when I was first getting into comics, Vertigo was one of those imprints that I always found myself gravitating towards, and I think I've read the first part of 100 Bullets and I did enjoy it, but it was at the time when it came out in like 13 trade paperbacks, but because of the fact that there's now only just going to be 2 omnibuses, I saw somebody selling this in a Facebook group and I realised that I do want to read this, so I'm glad that this one's entering the dog pound, even if it is a whammy boy, and I'm not even really sure if I've got the shelf space for it. The next book after that was another whammy boy, and it was a volume 2 that I'm surprised didn't get cancelled, but I'm really glad they didn't, and that is Green Arrow by Mike Grell Volume 2. Now this book entered the UK really early. I got this about 2 weeks before I saw anybody do an overview. Kinda wish I would have jumped on that bandwagon, but at the same time I just know that I wouldn't be good at that kind of video. But either way, I am really glad that I got this second volume because of the fact that this is a series that I've wanted to jump into. Am I happy with the spine design? Yes for this volume, but no because of the fact that it doesn't match Volume 1. But regardless, I love what I've read of Green Arrow before, even if I know that I haven't read a lot of his runs. This is the one that everybody says is the go-to, so I'm really glad that this has finished off and entered the dog pound. Fair warning as well, I can't remember exactly which books got delivered before others, so I'm just going to talk about the recent shipment that I got from the channel sponsor, Organic Price Books. They've got great packaging, fast shipping, and amazing customer services, and if you use code WOOF, you'll get $2 off your order. And if you're ordering 3 or more books and you want them to be delivered together, make sure you use code WOOF, ship it together for 5% off your entire order. Don't worry, you can just copy and paste them from the description down below, and you can use these codes as many times as you like. So treat yourself like I did, because the first book that I picked up from them is Blade of the Immortal, the Deluxe Edition Volume 4. Now I love the rate that Dark Horse is pumping these books out, and I hope that they continue with other series. Yes, you've known for a while now that I'm definitely not a manga guy, and no, I'm not just in denial or anything like that. I really can't wait until we've got all 10 or 12 volumes, I'm not really sure which one it'll be, so that I can just binge through this in one go because I've heard nothing but good things about this title. The next book that I got is one that I knew I needed to pick up because of the fact that Volume 1 just seemed to disappear immediately, but that is Aliens The Original Years Volume 2. But I am a massive fan of Aliens, I'm a bigger fan of Predator, so hopefully there will be a resolicitation of that book. And this is another one that I'm happy with how quick they're bringing them out. Like, yeah, I do wish there was a little bit of a break so that I could maybe save some money, but at the same time I struggle to be money conscious, so they might as well just bring them out quicker anyway. The next book that I picked up was a blind buy that was based on a recommendation from a friend because I picked up The Big Hard Sex Criminals Volume 3. Now I haven't looked into this book too much, but it might be a bit of a struggle to find a page that I can show up on the screen that won't really get me demonetized, which isn't really that big of a deal. I only get about £3 from doing a video. But still, Matt Fraction is one of those creators that's been a little bit hit or miss for me. I love his Invincible Iron Man, even if it seems to be the case that Marvel has forgotten that that run existed. But at the same time, I know I'm in the minority here, but I wasn't a big fan of his Hawkeye run, although I don't know if I should go back and give it a second chance. Still, I recently recently read Chip Zdarsky's Always an Invader, and I enjoyed that for the most part, and I know it's him doing the art on this run, which I think will be a bit of a change of pace. But now that this run is finished, I knew I needed to pick it up quickly. I do need to get my hands on volume 1 and 2, but I saw it at Organic Price Books, and I just decided to pick it up. The next book that JP sent over in a format that is quickly becoming one of my favourites, it's the Spawn Compendium Volume 2. But Spawn is a character that I've always read random stories about, but I've never read it in chronological order. I think it's great that we've already got a Volume 3 that's solicited, and I do hope that they keep going with this, because people who are a massive fan of Spawn say that he gets better the longer that the series goes on. But the majority of this seems to be illustrated by Greg Capullo, who's an artist that I've loved ever since I've seen him on Batman New 52, which, spoiler alert, is also going to appear in this video. But yeah, I'm just really glad that this is entering the dog pound, and I know that a lot of people do want this in oversized art, but realistically the value for money on this book is astonishing, so I'm just glad that it's entering the dog pound, at least in some format. After that, I got a book that was one of my most anticipated for 2021, and I'm just so glad they didn't get pushed back any further, because it's Daredevil by Charles Soule. I went with the standard edition mostly because of the fact that the picture on the spine I think is much better, and admittedly that's what I'm going to be looking at most, so I thought I'd just go with that. But one thing that I find really funny is that the quote on the front that's supposed to try and sell the book says, "Belongs on the shelf amongst Brewbaker's, Bendy's and Miller's classic take on the character." And I'm like, yeah, no shit, because of the fact that it's going to go in alphabetical order. But it feels like things have come full circle now, because this was the part of comics where I jumped out of reading single issues. So now I've got a chance to go back and read the full series, but I don't know if you can tell, but the dust jacket is slightly lower, so I am worried about it being creased. So this might have to break me one rule, and I might have to open this before I'm actually ready to read it. And just on a little side rant, I know a lot of people get annoyed that some people keep the books in cellophane, like myself, because of the fact that you might not have noticed, but I almost ripped the dust jacket for the 100 Bullets Omnibus because of the fact that it wasn't in the cellophane. And when I'm pulling books out all the time, it's very easy to snag them, so I'd just rather keep it like this until it's ready to be read. I kind of feel like I'm always on trial when I have to justify that kind of thing, so my other rule is, it's my money, I'm spending it how I want, so I'll enjoy the books how I want. But yeah, I'm so excited to have this in the collection, and I think I am going to read this pretty soon, but both covers were great for this, so I had a really hard time deciding. The next book in the delivery was one that I'm glad that I could upgrade from my trade paperbacks, because it's Lock and Key House Compendium. I loved the first two trade paperbacks of this, and I knew it was something that I wanted to continue with in a much bigger format, and I saw that Organic Price Books had this in stock, and I really just wanted to upgrade. I think now maybe I am going to save this for about October time so I can do it as a bit of a Halloween read. And the last book that I got from Organic Price Books, and yes, in case you were wondering, it was a very heavy box that got delivered, but this should come as a surprise to nobody because it's Darth Vader by Charles Soule. Yep, I got the DM variant that I'd wanted ever since I'd seen it, and I absolutely love this series. This is an amazing run, and I did have the oversized hardcover, so I didn't necessarily need to upgrade, but once that Kieran Gillen reprint comes in, then I've got every Star Wars omnibus of the modern era that's come out so far. I imagine there's going to be many more in the future. So yeah, I'm really glad that this is entering the collection, and I want to just say another thank you to JP and everybody at Organic Price Books. I somehow forgot that Christmas was only last month because that felt like ages ago, but I had some great comic gifts, the first of which was one that I kept subtly hinting to Shadowcat, so she picked me up the Justice League Dark Omnibus. Yep, it's New 52, which of course is my jam, and this was one of my favourite runs within it. I'm just so glad that we are getting omnibuses like this. If you would have asked me 3 years ago if I thought this was possible, I probably would have told you no. And the fact that it's all in this one massive hardcover is just impressive. I don't think I've ever read the ending of this though, so it is going to be great to go back and revisit it and see what I missed out on. But Shadowcat, if you're watching, thank you for picking this one up. Now, I know for near enough every book that I've shown in this video so far, I said that I'm due a reread, but this one is probably top of the list. Because for Christmas, Shadowcat surprised me with The Batman by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo Volume 2. Now, out of all of the New 52 runs that I love, this one is probably top of the list. That's 2 lists it's made the top of. So maybe yes, I have got my nostalgia glasses on, but I haven't even read The Last Night on Earth yet. So it's great because there's stuff in this book that I know that I love, even if I do think that this run peaked with stuff like 0 Year and Court of Owls. But at the same time, I've got a nice little surprise waiting for me at the end, and hopefully I just enjoy that as much as I remember enjoying it about 10 or so years ago. But I surprised her with a few little books. If you think that this is all I've got her, please don't think that that's the case. Else you might actually believe that she's not real, which you know she definitely is. So stop asking. But the first book that I got her because she's a massive Studio Ghibli fan is Ghibliotech. Now she probably could have wrote this book because of the knowledge that she's got for all the movies, but it's still just a beautiful one to look at. I wanted this to be a nice little surprise, but Amazon sent it in one of those boxes that didn't didn't have a bottom. So it got delivered, she answered the door first and it fell out and she saw it. I still wrapped it though so she had something to open on the day because that's just the kind of person that I am. The next book that I got her to show her that I'm okay with the fact that she's a massive Crash Bandicoot fan like I am, because it's Sonic the Hedgehog 30th Anniversary. Deluxe Edition, even though it's got the same dimensions as a standard size hardcover. But this is just like a fun little special event. I haven't really read any of the Sonic titles myself. It looks like the Sonic collection is only going to grow over the next couple of years, but I am glad that this is entering the dog pound. Two other books that I picked up for, mostly because of the fact that I was a bit annoyed that this series hadn't finished yet, but it's Cardcaptor Sakura Volume 8 and Volume 9. I do not know anything about this series, even though I've got 9 volumes of this in the collection now. I still haven't even asked her what the concept is. But yeah, if you're a fan of this series as well, I'd recommend picking these up whilst you still can, because when manga goes out of print, it really goes out of print. At least that's what I'm told. I then got quite lucky because when I did my top 15 most anticipated omnibuses for the first half of 2022, I mentioned Batgirl of Burnside on there, but as soon as I uploaded that video, it became available at Speedy Hen. They said they only had one left in stock and I was gullible enough to believe them, even though it still remained available after I'd brought it. But it finally got delivered and I'm just happy that it's entered the collection. Now, I absolutely love the Batgirl run that was done by Gail Simone, and I think I've only read a couple of issues of this one. It is a bit of a shame just how much this book costs. Like, this doesn't look much bigger than Justice League by Brad Meltzer, so I'm not really sure why this has got such an overinflated price. Oh, it's because it says Omnibus on the cover. Either way, the price isn't that much of a big deal if it's a title that I know I wanted, so I am glad that I've got this now, and I'm just looking forward to seeing what else DC brings out this year. Over the last couple of months, Speedy Hen had a deal where you could get 15% off everything in your cart, so I decided to pick up a few books that I'd been slacking on. The first of which, and it's another compendium, even though this is something that I wish I could have an omnibus for, because it's Fables Volume 3. I'm so happy that Volume 4's come out as well, and DC haven't changed the cover or the matching spine logo, but Fables is a title that I've wanted to go back and read all the way through because of the fact that I was a bit daunted originally by the amount of issues that there are, and I do also hope that we get a Jack of Fables compendium, but either way, thank God we've got this series completed, and I hope more people can pick this up, and we can all just revisit the golden era of Vertigo again. The next book that I picked up, because again Zdarsky was just working his magic on me, it's Fantastic Four Fate of the Four. I know absolutely nothing about this book, but I wanted to pick it up because of the fact that I was on that Zdarsky hype, and I'm praying that we get an eventual Daredevil omnibus of his. But I do want to read a bit more Fantastic Four because I feel like it's a team that introduced me quite well into comics, but I have neglected them in the last couple of years. It doesn't help the fact that Marvel pretty much got rid of them a few years ago, but it is nice that they're now getting a bit of attention. I'm hoping that this series is good. It doesn't look that long, so I can probably blast it out in a weekend. And I've said it before, but oversized hardcovers from Marvel are the ones that disappear overnight and then you'll never find them again for a cheap price. And the last book that I picked up from Speedy Hen, because of the fact that I'm an event apologist, is the Empire Omnibus. Yep, if you tell me something's an event, I'm gonna buy it and I'm gonna see if I enjoy it. I like big spectacles, I like Hollywood blockbuster type scenarios, so even though I'm completely in the minority here because I know a lot of people hate event comics, I'm glad that this one exists, and I've got something planned for the King in Black Omnibus, so make sure you subscribe for that one. An omnibus that I got in a deal that was way too good to pass up is Weapon X The Return. Now, I picked this up from Zavi, and if you're in the US, make sure you check out my friend BJ Kicks because he's got like an affiliate link so we can all help him out. But they were selling this for about 25 quid, and I know that some people hate people just buying books because it's at a cheap price, and honestly, there's just nothing more annoying than somebody that you can tell is only whinging because of the fact that they are jealous that they didn't pick it up for that price. Like, let's just be honest, you are not fooling anyone. So I don't really know too much about this, but for a price like that, I am willing to take a blind buy on it. Then a book that I pre-ordered for Shadowcat for a birthday, and then it got pushed back, so I said it'd be for Christmas, and then that didn't happen, so it was just a happy Tuesday, here's a book that I got you. And that's the Sonic the Hedgehog, the Encyclopedia Deluxe Edition. Yeah, they did do a standard edition of this, but when I saw this version of it, I knew that this was the one that I had to get it. And it is a phenomenal book. I'm not even a massive Sonic the Hedgehog fan, but even I flipped through this a little bit, and I've just seen like the history of it, and I just tried to get it out, but it is a bit difficult and I don't want to damage it. But yeah, there was no way that I wasn't going to get her the deluxe edition, and I am glad they just finally got delivered. She was then kind enough to surprise me with a couple of books because of the fact that January was just an awful awful month for me. Like, honestly, after I'd brought all of these books, I then accidentally scuffed my cart, so I don't even know when the next haul's gonna be. But the first book that she picked up for me was one that she knew I was talking about, and that is Nightwing by Tom Taylor. I read the very first issue of this when it came out, and I knew that this was gonna be something special. So I'm just glad that she picked this up for me, and I am half tempted to get caught up with this series and maybe continue it in single issues. But Nightwing is one of my favourite DC characters, so I am glad that I've got this, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this series goes. She then also treated me to the most recent volume of Reckless, which is Destroy All Monsters. And Reckless was phenomenal, so I don't want to spoil too much because I've got a review that's planned to come out. But I am so excited that there's more of this book, and I'm just glad with the frequency that they're being released. I do get the feeling that there is eventually going to be a deluxe edition, and I will happily upgrade because of just how much fun I'm having with this series. And the last book that she picked up for me, I don't know, maybe this is a sign that she's got some kind of secret boyfriend who is actually a manga guy, because she picked me up Helsing Volume 3. Yep, I knew I needed this one, and it also looks like they might be steadily going out of print now that this run's been completed. But I am tempted to crack these open now that it's finished and do a read through of it. This looks like it's got an art style that I would enjoy, and I just like the presentation of these books. So I don't know, if you've read Helsing, let me know in the comment section below what you thought of it, or if it's something that you think I'd enjoy. And if you don't think it's something I'd enjoy, it's a little bit too late now, I've got all 3 volumes. Now I wish I could say that I love everybody who watches my videos equally, but that's just not true. I don't really have an official hierarchy, but at the very bottom it'd be people who just whinge at me for stuff that I can't change anymore, or people who complain about the woof woof as if it's gonna change 2 years into this channel's lifespan. Only slightly above that we've got people who don't get my jokes, and then there is a massive gap, and I've got like people who watch and comment really supportive things and just tell me to keep going, people who tune into the live streams and make them fun for me, people who use the code woof woof for $2 off the order of organic price books, I love them quite a lot, people who donate to me coffee, I really love you guys a lot because you keep this channel going, and pretty much on that same level I'm going to include people like SCC and Barath, and of course Comic Bound because of the fact that, you know, I love him. They always help me with books, and in particular this time it was Barath because of the fact that he knew that I was looking for Spider-Man Life Story. Again, yes, the Chip Zdarsky reign is continuing, but this is a book that I've really wanted for a while. But I held off on picking up the trade paperback because I wanted this oversized hardcover, and I'm just glad that it now finally is here. I might blast through this pretty quickly to see if it does live up to the hype, but I am just glad that it's entering the dog pound. However, the reason why I did that entire bit talking about why I love him is because of the book that he also helped me to pick up this month. When I was doing Whale Watch, I talked about the Matrix hardcover, and I pretty much acknowledged that it was probably not going to be the case that I was going to get one, and I had a lot of chances to. That's the annoying thing about FOMO, it's all those moments where you knew that you could have brought it. But he was kind enough to sell me his copy, so it's finally entered the dog pound. The Matrix is one of my favourite films, so much so that I haven't even bothered watching the 4th one because people tell me that it's not that good. However, when I was younger and I was starting to get into comics, I loved comics that were based on movies or TV shows or games that I was interested in. No idea why I pronounced it like that. So I did actually have the first volume of this probably about, you know, near enough 20 years ago. I'm glad that this is now all in a beautiful hardcover, and I can't wait to go back and revisit it and just see if this holds up to what I imagined when I was a kid. So Barath, if you're watching this, I want to say thank you again for sending this across to me, and hopefully we can do other deals in future. He's also always posting up deals in our Reddit page r/Maddogg Comic community, so make sure you join us there because honestly he is a lifesaver. One of the last couple of books that I picked up this month, and that is the 4th World Omnibus. Now I was debating on whether to pick up this or maybe grab the Absolute Editions. I know that this is an area of the DC universe that I probably should read up on, so I'm glad that I managed to pick this up, but I got this for I think it was about 65% off. That is a great price that was too good to pass up, and I know that this has gone out of print a couple of times before, and I didn't really want to miss another chance to get it. But the last book that I picked up this month was a special one for me. I've made it no secret that there is one title that managed to get me into comics from the very beginning. This is a title that I'm probably never going to sell, and I'm always going to read, and when I reread it a couple of years ago, it still held up just as much as when I was a kid. I've already filmed a separate video on this just talking about how much I love this title, and I even broke my one rule, and I opened the cellophane before I was ready to read it. Because this title is the one that I'd break rules for, because it's the Ultimate Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 1. There were some great DM variants for this, but I still decided to go with the original cover. Do I think that this is a great piece of art? No, but I think it's iconic. This was the first image that I ever saw that I knew that I needed to buy. I hope that they do this whole run, and I'm not sure if I would actually sell my trade paperbacks because I just love it so much and it's got so much sentimental value to me. So it feels great to have this in my collection, and like I said, look out over the next couple of weeks because I've done a video where I just talk about how much I love this title. But yeah, it's been a great couple of months of buying comics, even if it does mean that now I'm probably going to have to go on a drought so that I can afford to fix my car. But that's everything that I picked up, and in the comment section below, let me know what the book was that you were most excited that you got in the past couple months. I hope you all had a good Christmas. I hope your 2022 is going okay so far, but I guess that's the video for now, and until next time, just make sure that you stay safe and stay mad, all you dogs. Woof woof! See you at the next video.